What's going on, guys? Matt here from Gentry Custom Knives, and today we're doing something a little bit different than the norm for this channel, and we're going to try to make a Kydex holster for a pistol. Now, the pistol we're doing this for today is the Ruger Mark IV 2245 Light, and I looked around a lot and tried to find one I liked, and I couldn't find it, and I thought, you know what, let's try to make one. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do as simple as possible Kydex holster, outside the waistband carry, hopefully, and mount a tech lock on it so you can put it on your belt and carry it in the woods with you or wherever you want to go. So that's what I'm going to try to do today. Now, I bet there's a ton of videos on YouTube about this. I didn't look at any, so I'm kind of going to wing it a little bit. And I've got the holster here for just like my carry gun. And you can see they're just super simple, you know, and they're, I don't know, 30, 40 bucks sometimes. And like I said with this one, I couldn't find one you could put a tech lock on. So I'm kind of going off of this profile to at least attempt something similar. And you can see how these work is it gets a little tension from around the trigger guard area. You can see here, I'll show you really close where it pops in right there. And it's kind of recessed out along that trigger guard area. Now, that's going to be my goal, at least, to get pretty good tension, because I don't want this thing falling out when I'm hiking around in the woods or whatever. So that's where I'm going to start. I'll probably go over everything I'm using so you guys can do it at home if you want to tinker with this. I think that the problem areas with this are going to be figuring out a way to get this front sight to not hang up. And this shouldn't be a problem. Other than that, we should be clear. So I'll show you how I'm going to lay this out at least, and hopefully it works out. All right, so here we are. Looking at this holster, the way this is set up is this is a taco style, so it's a one piece of Kydex folded over and heat pressed to it. This one's probably vacuum pressed. This one's really tight. And so that's what we're gonna try to do. So the tricky part, I think, of this is figuring out a way to be able to mount our tech lock clip like this, because it obviously has screws that have to go through on the back, so you have to kind of put some sort of recess in here to where your gun isn't going to ride on those screws every time it goes in and out. So what my plan is here is find some sort of, maybe like a piece of tube, like a piece of G10 tube to tape between this front sight post back to the optic, and then probably some sort of, maybe a piece of micarta or some piece of wood to kind of put right here as a square standoff block kind of thing to be able to mount that tech lock to. I'm kind of going to tinker with this a little bit and see what works, and then I'll check back in with you guys as soon as I have it figured out. Now, today we're using 0.80 thickness Kydex, and I built my own press. So I'll show you guys that, and I'll also put links below to all the stuff I'm using today. So let me figure this out a little bit, and I'll check back in with you guys once I think I've got it figured out. Okay, so what I did is I had a little piece of G10 that I used, and I added that little block right there. So that's going to give me, when I press that Kydex, it's going to give me a little recess to be able to fit those screws in there just enough and not scratch the gun going in and out of it all the time. And then I added a little carbon fiber tube to the top that went over the top of that front sight to where it's going to give me clearance on that Kydex, okay? Now, what I'm kind of trying to figure out here is when I go to press this, as you can kind of see, I need to be able to fold this over and not have that red dot get in the way. So I've got to cut the Kydex, you know, not necessarily to fit, but just make it to where I can fold it and I'm gonna get a good solid press without causing any problems and that red dot getting in the way. So I think I kind of have it to where it'll work, but if not, we got more Kydex, and we're gonna get this figured out. Okay, so I just quickly cut that on the portable bandsaw. You can cut this stuff with a razor, or honestly, it's really easy to work with. And you can see kind of how I did it, okay? That way, when I can kind of set it in there, fold it over, and hopefully it won't get in the way of that red dot. And then after it's pressed, we'll trim it to fit a little bit more and hopefully get some really good tension around that trigger guard area. Now, I'm going to use a toaster oven to heat this up, and what I do is I set the toaster oven about 300 degrees, and you want to watch it really, really close. After about a minute or two, it'll be warm enough, and I like it to be like if you're making lasagna, like a lasagna noodle when it's cooked, like real flexible. And especially for this, I want it to get really hot, get a really, really deep press so I can get good tension. I'll bring you over to my little Kydex station, show you guys my press, and we'll try to do this. All right, guys, so over here at the toaster oven, I just put my Kydex in there at 300 degrees. I kind of laid it out on my press to see how it was going to work, and I don't have quite enough room here to do it, but I'm going to make it happen. You can see how this press is made. Just has a door hinge, some wood, and some Kydex foam, and that's all you need. Super simple. Like I said, I will leave links for everything I'm using in the description below, so you guys, if you feel like a little weekend project, you can get some of this stuff ordered and give it a try. So wear gloves when you're dealing with the hot Kydex because, well, it's hot, and you want it really hot, like I said, to get a really good press. So I'm going to leave this for about a minute and a half. I'm going to pull it, check it. I'll probably try to show you guys the consistency of it just to give you an idea. And then we'll press this, and fingers crossed it turns out good. All right, guys, so I think it's probably about ready. I'm gonna probably pull this out. I'll show you guys what it looks like, and so you get an idea when you do it at home, how hot you need to get that Kydex. I'm gonna quickly get it in the press, and the faster you can do this, the better the end result will be. The hotter it is when you do the press, the better the definition is, the better the fit will be, and hopefully the better the retention will be. So you can see, okay, here, you can see where it's at right now, how flexible it is. It's pretty good. Now, just showing you guys this, I'm gonna put it back in and heat it up for a minute, but that gets you an idea on how you want it when you go to press it. Now, I'll leave this for about 30 seconds, let it warm back up just a little bit, and then we'll go right into the press. All right, so we're coming over to the press, going as fast as I can. I'm kind of lining this up as good as I can. I made the piece of Kydex just a little bit too big, actually, but I think it's still gonna work. And you can kind of probably see what I'm doing. I'm pulling it a little bit tight. We're gonna go ahead and get the press on and get our clamp on. Clamp it down real good. All right, so now what I do is let that cool for maybe 8 to 10 minutes, let it cool off a little bit, pull it out, check it, see what it looks like, and that's what we're gonna do. And what's really cool about Kydex is if I'm not happy with the way that press is, which I'm not sure if I am, because I think I should have pulled it out a little bit further so I'm not actually pressing with that red dot in the foam. It's kind of taken away some of the tension. We'll see what it looks like. But you can redo it. You can pull that Kydex out, heat it back up, as long as you don't overheat it. And you can attempt it a couple times if you want to until you get the perfect press on it. So I'll let that sit for a minute. I'll check back in and show you guys. And even if I redo it, I'll show you how this looks and maybe explain at least my thoughts on how it's looking. So hopefully you guys are learning something. Okay, so take one. I'm not calling it a failure, but so I popped it out of the press. You can see kind of what it looks like. It's really good definition along there, and it got around the trigger guard how I was hoping. So this side's good. However, this side, like it almost got, you can see the big shadow there. Like it got bunched up in there, and it didn't, it just looks horrible. So, hey, that's how it goes. We're gonna throw it, take this off, throw this back in the oven, and we're gonna try again. That's all we can do, and hopefully take 2 is more successful. I think I need to pull the actual pistol back a little bit from the press and keep the optic out of the press. It might shorten and make the sheath a little smaller, which is okay. Yeah, let's try take 2. All right, press number 2 worked out a little better there, guys. So there you can see what I was really wanting is a good dish where that trigger guard is at, and I got it there. You can see this side turned out good. Where that standoff block is at looks pretty good. So now we're kind of gonna pull this out. I'm kind of gonna see, I think it's gonna be really good. I think the next step would be figuring out where you need to put your eyelets to kind of keep a little bit of tension on this thing. And I probably will be putting them down, like maybe 2 of them right here, and maybe 1 up a little higher, maybe 2, I don't know. I'll see how I want to lay it out just to give it a little bit of structure. And then we're going to trim this a little bit and obviously clean it up and make it look a little more normal. See if my idea worked here with this little standoff block. And yeah, but hey, much better than attempt number 1. So as far as eyelets go, you can buy bags of 100 or whatever at a time. If you're just going to tinker with this, you can buy littler bags and then buy this cheaper little eyelet setting tool. Again, I think it's maybe 20, 25 bucks, and it's got this little kind of a die and then a punch that sets these eyelets. And again, everything will be in the link below for you guys to check out what I'm using. Now, I use the 1/4 inch size. So we're gonna buzz 1/4 inch holes right here. And then I'm gonna space out and kind of mark where this tech lock goes on my standoff to mark the holes for the Chicago screws for those. And these tech locks come with a little hardware kit you can see that has a male and a female screw and a little rubber washer. So drill out these 1/4 inch and get my eyelets set. And then we're gonna start trimming this and making it look a little bit cleaner. Okay, so I actually had to trim it a little bit to get it to fit inside my eyelet press. You can see it's only got so deep of a throat to be able to do this. So these are, again, 1/4 inch size holes, and you just kind of push these eyelets through like this, and then put the big side down. Now let's see if this is gonna work. I think so. Couple good whacks, and it sets it in there good. Now it's kind of awkward with this little press, and it's not seating in there 100% properly. So the eyelets are probably, yeah, that one got a little dinged up, but it did set them fine. So there you can see they're in there, and that just gives you some tension there and holds it all together. Now what we're gonna do is kind of start trimming this thing up a little bit, making it a little prettier, getting our tension proper, how you want it. And I think what you need to understand about Kydex is you can kind of adjust it how you want it, just like a knife sheath. You find where your tension point is, which I'm assuming is going to be around this trigger guard and maybe in some of this ribbing on the barrel even as well. But I think that's going to be my main tension point. So depending on how much of this material I remove is going to be how tight the tension is on this holster. So I'll kind of show you guys what I mean and do some test fitting, and we'll go from there. But hey, it's looking pretty cool so far. Okay, so at this point, you can remove your tape unless you're real picky about getting a scuff or something on the finish of the, which I'm not. And kind of test fit, see how it goes, okay? I'm assuming this is gonna be like super tight because I haven't trimmed any of this, and I haven't cleaned any of this up. Now, we're gonna clean this all up so it slides in good and smooth, but just for now, we're kind of gonna test fit it and see where we wanna start trimming this up. So I can see right now that I am getting tension around these little ribs in the barrel, which is good. It's really tight. And then as soon as it gets to that trigger guard, wow. So you can see it's really tight. It does pull out, but we definitely need to do a lot of trimming around that trigger guard. Just because I'm getting such good tension around these little ribs, you can see I almost need no tension on that. So what I'm gonna do is just take a marker and kind of figure out where I wanna trim this, and always take off less than what you're thinking. You can always take more off, you can't add any. So I'm gonna kind of take off from like maybe in the middle of this trigger, about like that. Oh, probably show you guys, about in the middle of this trigger, and probably bring it up a little higher even, because it's got plenty of tension, and that was my main thing. Now I do have to kind of cut it and curve it around where my standoff block is for my tech lock, but that's what we're gonna do. And again, this stuff cuts really easy. You could use a hacksaw, you could use a razor knife, you can use whatever if you don't have one of these portable bandsaws set up like I do. So let's trim this thing up a little bit, and I'll kind of show you the end result once I have it dialed in. And that baby's tight right now though, that will never fall out. So I trimmed this up a little bit. You can kind of see I left quite a bit of meat here on where that trigger guard goes. And like I said earlier, I want this to be tight fit. If you compare it to this one, which is an inside the waistband Kydex, it pops out really easily. Okay, and that's good. For concealed carry, you want to be able to access that very fast. And that's where this part of making your own Kydex sheath is cool, because you can adjust it however you want to. So for example, if you wanted to make this sheath a lot looser, you could fill in these little spots where it's getting some tension at, and you could also trim a lot more of that trigger guard area away, which would cut down your tension a lot. It actually gets a lot of tension from these little ribs in the barrel, which is cool. I like it. But like I said, if you wanted less, fill these in with more tape or find little filler pieces or whatever. So we're gonna jump over to the belt grinder, trim this thing up, clean it up a little bit. If you don't have a grinder of any sort, you could use a Dremel. You could do this by hand with sandpaper, whatever you have, you can make it work. Luckily, I've got a nice grinder to start working on. So I'm gonna shape this up a little bit, and we're getting close. Well guys, check it out. It actually worked. It's a miracle, right? This is not my heavy duty kind of gun belt. This is just my normal belt I wear out in the shop. So it's a little wiggly on there, but once it's a good strong belt, you can see it's perfect. Good tension, locks in really good. Wow, I'm actually really happy with how that turned out. Let me show it to you guys really quick. These tech locks are cool because they clamp down like that, and they have a little locking mechanism that kind of holds them in place. And you can adjust this little tab depending on how thick your belt is. And it's got all these different holes to where you can adjust the cant however you want to carry. And yeah, so there is the finished product. Now you can see I had to adjust the screws that come with these tech locks. They were a little bit too long. They're probably meant for a little thicker material or whatever. So I shortened the actual female and male part of those screws on the grinder just a little bit to get them to work properly. And then I put the rubber washer in between. Not positive that that's how you're supposed to do it, but it's solid and works really, really good. I made it to where it's pretty tight. Let me show you guys. Really good tension on there. And it's all cleaned up, and then I just kind of buffed the edges on the buffer wipe them down, clean them really good, and do a little 3-in-1 oil on it. And then you can see the finish. So overall, I'm really happy with it. I think it's super, super cool. It's exactly what I was kind of wanting. And I think once I get this on my more solid belt, it's going to be really cool. This is just like a cloth belt that isn't, you know the difference between a gun belt and this belt. So I think it'll add a pretty good structure to it and, yeah, solid it up. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Now, obviously, you guys take this video for what it is, adjust it to how you guys want it. But that's good. It's never going to fall out of there. That gives you an idea on the tension. Oh, yeah. And this Kydex breaks in a little bit, too, when you use it. But that's... Oh, man, that's good. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. I got more work to do in the shop today. Maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't. That was fun kind of to tinker and experiment with that. I won't be doing a whole lot of that in the future, but you never know. So like always, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and have a good one.